At that time, I was actually very interested in saving the environment. I can transition and go and learn more about BIM.
You've been a student in India. You've been
Right.
a student in Canada. Are there particular differences feel?
Welcome to the BIM Student Podcast. In this podcast, we talk to leaders, followers, innovators, and adopters from our AEC industry. Like a student, I ask questions that we all wanted to ask on our digital transformation journey, but never actually did. I explore concept, products, ideas, and future possibilities in digital transformation space. Each week, I meet with an amazing guest from the industry. I look forward to learn something new, share new experiences, thoughts, and opinions, and how to make BIM journey better for everybody across the board.
In today's episode, I will be talking to Suman Chauhan. Suman is a VDC coordinator at Pomerleau, but that's the smallest part of her BIM student journey and identity. She describes herself as a creative thinker and is passionate about her goal to help the industry to work efficiently using the tools and technologies that she has access to. She believes that by making the right use of data that we have, we can bring about a big change in the industry. She also has a very unique journey and something that every student can learn from. Welcome to the podcast, Suman. I'm so glad we are doing this, and I'm so glad finally we are able to, make time to make this happen. How are you doing today?
Hi, Chetna. Really nice to see you today. I'm doing great. You're doing great too. You look great. So, yeah, I am glad we came together here, and I'm very happy and excited to talk about everything.
Okay, great. Before we move any further, who is Suman? I want to know. And why is Suman on BIM Student Podcast?
All right. So let's start here. I am right now a professional, but I started my journey as an architect. And now I work in BIM. I was really interested in moving in BIM, taking my knowledge of architecture. And then, because I was so interested in technology, I took it over and here I am today with you. So, yeah, I hope we'll dive more into it.
Okay, where do you work?
So I work at Pomerleau. I have been with Pomerleau for the last 2 years now. I started my journey as an intern in May 2020. And then a few months later, after my internship, I was hired full time. So I have been working with them since 2020. So it's been 2 years now. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. And Pomerleau is an amazing company. This is also a shout out to my friend Sean Lemrock, who's also going to be on this podcast soon, by the way.
Yeah, and we work very closely together.
Yes,
So.
yes. He is a very good friend of mine. We've worked at IBI together, but we're also now like the text message friends.
Right.
And we share, and that's for the podcast that I have with him, but we share a common love for wine. So yeah, but it's great. Let's throw Sean out of here and let's talk about you.
Sean will not be happy, but yeah, let's do it.
Okay, we'll see about that. Okay, so let's first of all chart your journey a little bit. So where does Suman come from? What is his background? And why is she a BIM student?
Right. Okay. So I basically started as an architect. Like I told you, I went to architecture school back in India since I belong from India. And after my 5 year of architecture, I think around like the fourth year or so, I kind of started getting more and more in technology. I still wasn't aware I'm going to go do BIM because we did not had so much resource to actually understand there's BIM going out there, but we did understand there were a lot of technology coming in. And I was always interested in looking more and more into it. So that's where the interest started developing. And then after I graduated, I started working as an architect. So I worked as an architect for a year. And then I always wanted to like learn more and understand more things around. And at that time, I was actually very interested in saving the environment. So that kind of spirit. And I went to actually do my research in environmental planning and management.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that for a year. And there I was exposed to a lot more tools which are which looks at stuff at a bigger scale, like ArcGIS and stuff, right? So did a lot of analysis, a lot of calculations of how to make a part of the environment like cleaner, greener. So yeah, that then led to me to actually understand that, hey, BIM sounds really great. Like that was the point when I actually learned about BIM. And then I started looking around the world of in which areas or in which regions do we have BIM actually erupting or like being used more. So I found out like definitely Europe side, they are like very advanced. And in India, we had this company called Atkins Global. It's a global company. Now SNC Lavalin has taken over them. But yeah, so after that, I started working at Atkins and I took some experience over there. They were very advanced in BIM already. They had all their tools, processes in there. They used Bentley systems. Very interesting to learn and understand, all the class action. They had the search as defined, but still there were a lot of gaps. So while doing all that, I actually was also looking into different countries and different regions of where I can like transition and go and learn more about them. So Canada came into picture, and and hence I was able to find like colleges in Canada which is actually providing BIM programs. And then then I finally took a BIM program at Algonquin. I applied for it, and then I got into it. And so finally in 2019, I moved to Canada to actually study more about BIM. So it was really interesting because I already took some experience back in India, and then when I moved here to actually go study it, I could like really relate every single thing that I was doing back at Atkins. And it was very interesting to learn. So I feel like if you have a little bit of background, your understanding will be like way wider and way higher than if you just come in right from the scratch. It will be difficult because I feel like the whole course is like it's a 1 year program, right? And 2 semesters. So everything is like a crash course. So you're provided with so much information in so little time, and you have to take that all. You have to absorb. So I feel my experience really helped me absorb all that information really well. And then finally, I was like already preparing for jobs and stuff because I was like, oh my God, the moment this program ends, I need to have an internship right there, ready to go, or some kind of job, in BIM. So yeah, I started applying for jobs, and in around November, December itself, when I started my program in September, and by November, December, I was already applying for jobs. So finally, I think with Pomelo, I had my interview around March, and by April, everything was finalized. And as soon as I graduated, which was on the 29th of April, I started working with Pomelo on the 4th of May. So it was a really good transition, like right away. Yeah. So that was interesting. Yep.
Okay. I think we got your journey. What I'm more interested in is you've been a student in India, you've been a
Right.
student in Canada, and looks like you are a student of lifelong learning. Are there particular differences that you feel that there is? And I can say like you grew up in India, so that's a different kind of education system, and it's a different kind of system here in Canada. Do you feel just on the education level, are there differences, not just the quality, but also the way it's delivered and way the expectations need to be managed with your teachers, with and anybody who's coming, with your classmates? Is there a difference, or do you find they're the same?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, though. Yeah, on this question, I would really say I have a lot to say, but I would try to compress it in as small part as I can. So, yeah, the biggest difference I found was in India. I all the colleges I went to, or all the universities I attended, was the government universities. So I would start saying that to get into these universities, it's really hard because the population is huge and you have to compete with so many people to actually get into it. But when you get into it, the problem with the university, what I find is because they are so old, like 100 years old or 150 years old. Their pattern of education, they don't change or upgrade it. They
Mm-hmm.
keep it stagnant. It's the exact same thing they are teaching for the last 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel that's the biggest gap because unless and until you start exploring yourself, you would not find that it's a gap over there.
Mm.
So that's the biggest difference I found between the education system in India and in Canada, where like here I found that everyone is so aware, all our faculty members, and everyone is trying to bring the latest and the greatest out in the market to you,
Mm-hmm.
and share it with you and make you help you develop through all that information. But yes, that's a big gap that I noticed in the education system between India and Canada, if I have to say.
Okay, and if I say expectations wise, and this is going to help those who are coming after you,
Right.
especially to study a BIM program or an architecture technology or an engineering technology program here in Canada. As far as expectations are concerned, what is the biggest difference you feel as a student that, these were the expectations that I was supposed to meet in India, but these are really different expectations that I have to meet when I'm a student in Canada?
Right. So yeah, on that level, it's again a very big difference that you will notice because in India, really, it's very open. It's like you do for yourself because no one else will actually be, if you are making, let's say, a 30 grand,
Mm-hmm.
people will not worry about it. You have to push yourself to get to the 50 or the 80. You have to determine the goals for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
When I look at Canada, it's like I think for an Indian student or anyone who's coming overseas, the biggest gap would be that you do not have that many connections.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you are like in India, okay, you graduated. Now, after your 5 year of program, you know so many people around in the industry because you were exposed to everyone, right? But when you move here, you don't have that in the
Mm-hmm.
start. So I feel like in any program, irrespective of BIM or like you said, architectural technology, I feel the very first, the most important thing is start making connections before you come here.
Mm-hmm.
So start getting prepared like a year or two before you actually move to Canada. Start talking to people, not just adding them on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
Adding makes no difference. People won't remember. But if you find someone's profile that relates so much to you,
Mm-hmm.
start talking to them, having a conversation, not just saying that, hey, I want a job, because that's the kind of messages we get, right? It should more be like a conversation. Hey, I want to learn something. Can you give me some idea of this? Or like, just some understanding. So I think that's the kind of expectation I would say is really important to keep in mind. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's a very important one for me.
Okay. So, yeah, I think anybody who moves from one country to the other for education, for work, for starting a new life, that is the biggest challenge. And that is the biggest advantage if they can have, is to be able to make new connections and be able to talk to people without sounding too much pushy about stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I can say that through this podcast, I want to also, just say it out to people who message me or anybody that, if you genuinely want to learn and understand and make a connection, people respond. I respond many times. I've actually just now I stopped putting my scheduling link on the
Yeah.
website. Till last 4 or 5 months ago, my personal scheduling link was on the website that we had, so that if anybody needs to talk to me, understand what BIM is, how this career can, I would spend half an hour with them and I would give them, or even like adding them on LinkedIn or even Facebook. Sometimes people have reached out to me on the
Right.
Facebook groups that we've had. And it just comes through that you genuinely are asking for information and understanding of how you want to progress, or you're just being, this person. Because see, it's also like not many people understand, but it's hard to say no when somebody's like really desperately looking for a job, but you don't
Yes.
have a position, right? You don't
Hmm.
not help them. It's really hard to say no. That no is, I feel internally we're all good people, right? We don't want to
Yeah.
disappoint other people, but we can only do as much. So yeah, this is something I think that has helped me also personally. I've attended so many like Toronto Society of Architects events, and so that I could just be in a community and understand that what is expected out of me as a professional, right?
Right.
I think we do, a lot of international students undervalue the power of connections,
Yes.
the power of networking, for not just for the sake of networking, but for the sake of learning from the community or
True.
being part of the community. So I think that's really, really important. So that's the education part. Now let's talk about your journey, as how you transitioned from being an international student to now somebody who's working with a company like Pomerlo and doing some really great work. You can also put a little bit of light on what kind of work you do without revealing the projects and stuff. You worked in an international setting, you worked in India, and you worked in a different environment, and you work here now. So let's talk about that how has that journey been?
Yeah, so first thing I would like to say, it's really good to take all different kinds of experience because every experience is going to teach you so much.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what I am right now is just because of all the experiences I had.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I would like to start this conversation. Now, if I have to jump back, like take a step back and start with the very first time when I started working as an architect, right? So that journey, I was very excited because I just graduated as an architect. Yay, completed my internship, professionally trained. Awesome. Now I gotta build buildings in a computer. So,
Computer, right. I
right?
like that.
Yeah. So that was very interesting. And the first company I started working with, it was also a national company. They worked on a thermal power plant project. So
Mm-hmm.
going through a lot of like renovation stuffs, interior renovations and landscaping stuff. And they did not had anyone who knew 3D at that time. So I was hired and then I started working. I'm like, I can actually make a 3D and you can see how it looks and then we can finalize. And they were so excited about it. They made me do so many changes all the time. But that was okay. That was a good learning experience. But a complete different work environment is what I'm trying to say here. Okay. Where they were like, first time looking at it, all old people, so much experience, so much to learn from them. And, there's something that I can give them.
Mm-hmm.
So that was amazing to start with. Yeah. Then after that, I told you I went into research and stuff, and that was very interesting too. And then I went to work for Atkins. So that was another experience. So in Atkins, I found that they had all the systems in place for, a very long time. But the difference I find in like over there and here is people over there do not interact too much.
Mm-hmm.
Like everyone goes to work, they do work, they're good, they have systems in place, we all share information, it's all good. But I think it's also because they had systems in place and it's an old established company that we did not talk too much about processes or systems or making them taking them to
Workflows.
another workflows, right, taking them to another level. No, it was more like, hey, this is exactly how we do it, let's do this. Okay, great, let's do that. But it was a good experience to start with because it gave me like a great exposure of how things work, in a BIM environment.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a very good knowledge take from there. And then I moved here. I got so much more exposure to BIM. And then finally I started working with Palmer Lowe. And here we were actually improving all the systems and all the process, defining different workflows. We were questioning every single thing that we do.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a complete different experience for me from what I had before, just because of the part where I actually got to work on all the different kinds of workflow creation process
Mm-hmm.
and like literally defining every single thing and re-questioning it if it's good or not. Even sometimes like just build stuff and try it and test it for a few days, not going great, how can we improve it?
Mm-hmm.
So it just you know how it's transitioning. It's just like now you're getting exposure to like such a wide perspective. Now you're getting into the details of every single thing. And that's, I think, is very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the kind of exposure I got. And then once everything is like finalized, everything is ready to go. Hey, now we use it on project because now it's tested, tried, and it's running great. Okay, awesome. So I would also say this was more about the workflows and process, but talking about the technology, yeah, that also like changed in the exact same format. So like starting just from Revit to moving to like Bentley tools, and in the middle I did some kind of GIS stuff, and then moving here I literally was able to apply all kinds of applications. If not apply it all, but at least like we are testing and trying and making sure which one works the best for, you know, a certain use case. So that's really, really amazing. And I think because Formula is such a big company, they have that amount of, you know, asset, or I would say the
Resources.
resource, exactly, amount of resource to actually spend on that. And it's amazing to get that opportunity is what I would say. Yep.
Oh, okay, that's great. And yeah, Pommerla is a very good company. Some of their projects are amazing. I envy that. Why am I not, like, why am I not part of that project? This project is really good. But anyways, having said that, we've talked about a lot of your journey and we've talked about all of that. Where is it going now? Where are you now? And where do you see yourself that from here, what else?
Well, that's a really great question. And I always like to talk about that one.
Uh-huh. Okay, let's talk
So,
about it.
yeah. So, you know, by coming this far, I just feel like now it's the start of a complete, like, different journey or complete different perspective. Because at this point of time in my life, I am getting more into data and stuff. So my whole energy is always at, hey, this kind of data, what information is this going to provide? Is this useful or not? If not, just discard it. If it's useful, keep it, you know? So I feel like in construction,
Mhm.
there's huge data waste produced every year without realizing, actually,
Mhm.
because everyone is trying to do so much at the same time. But like I feel there's one important part that's lacking is like you need to verify what you're doing is actually adding up to something worth spending the time that you're spending on it.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I think that's a missing part in construction a little bit, just because we are a little behind in technology as compared to the other industries. But
Mhm.
if we start looking and, you know, actually tackling that part, always questioning ourselves before we start anything new, that would reduce the waste so much by like such a huge amount. And like everyone has to be aware of it. Otherwise, it's not happening. I just feel like, yeah, like try to, that's what I'm trying to do
Mhm.
myself, is like anytime I start something, I question it. Will this be really useful in the next 3 years or the next 5 years? Or like I'm just gonna do it, create some kind of data right now, and then in like the next 2 months, it's gonna be a waste.
Mhm.
So if it's a waste, then discard it. It's like how you think about your life. Like, hey, 5 years from now, will I have will this give me anything 5 years from now? If
Mhm.
yes, I'm going to do it. If no, I shouldn't do it. Same comes with all the processes and workflows we create. Anything we produce in the whole construction industry, I feel like we should question. And that's where I am at right now. Like all in data, thinking about it all the time. What is important, what's not, and then working towards the right things.
Okay. Okay. So, which means that at this point of time, what kind of work are you doing? What does your everyday look like?
All right. So my everyday is a mix of a lot of different things. So let's say usually my morning starts with a few emails and messages with some kind of support out in site. So I do all kind of information management for the whole project, and we have a big team, so always have to be on top of it. Nobody should be, you know, we should not lag behind because it's for people out on site that they're using it every day. So that's how my day starts, by talking to people out on the project teams, just understanding everything is good. If there's a problem, solve it right away.
Mhm.
If it's taking long, okay, 2 days after, schedule that.
Mhm.
That's like the start of my day, and then slowly it shifts down to, okay, now let's bring up the next item that we were working on. So there's always like a big project going in the background, which is to make our processes better.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the kind of stuff I'll give every 2 to 3 hours every day to work on it, just to see if things are good, or maybe test a few things, Then I give a lot of trainings on a lot of different tools to our project teams. So they are like, all set to work with all the tools and use it to the best possible extent, right? So some kind of tool trainings. After that, we have a lot of after that, we actually have a lot of requests all the time because we are a support system,
Mm-hmm.
right? BIM VDC is supporting all the projects. So that's basically my day. We have, apart from that, this is not like every day, but this is more like weekly, where we kind of, we have like our team meetings. We discuss our agenda, like what we are working towards, and make sure we are all on the same page, doing the right things. And basically.
How much of your everyday is software troubleshooting?
Very good question. I would say it will be like 2 to 3 hours every day.
2 to 3 hours every day you're doing software troubleshooting. So that means that knowing processes and understanding the process is important, but knowing your tool is so important.
Yes, you have to do that. That's the basic. That's where you start, because sometimes, you know what, like people come with questions, be like, hey, this broke. Okay, what is the error message? I have never seen that error message ever before. But you know what we do? We Google. So
we Google. I think most of the times, Suman, I've always told this to people when I do troubleshooting for them. The answer to this problem is in the problem itself. Look at the error question properly. Look at it. It will give you 90% of times, it will give you the solution that you need to go check your visibility stuff. You need to go check.
Correct.
The problem is that when we see an error message, we still are in that scary zone where we feel, oh, I shouldn't break something, or I shouldn't screw something up. So we don't read the warning properly. 90% of the time, the warnings, the error messages, they are telling you that this could be your solution.
True.
So anybody who's trying to build up on their technology and BIM experience and want to get more into depth of this is my message to everybody, that when you have an error message, read it. Don't just, oh, this is an error message, just cross it. Don't do that. Read the error message. What does it say? Actually, a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, he's a software engineer, and this is what he told me, like in very early days when we had started just learning like AutoCAD and stuff, and and I would say that like things are giving me message errors and I just hate this. And he said, did you even read those messages, or you just cross them? I just crossed them. So this is what I have learned from somebody else, but read the error messages before you call your coordinator or coordinator. Read it.
That's the question, right? Every time someone says, hey, this is not working, and I'm like, can you send me a screenshot of the error that you just received? Right? And that's where we go from, and it's solved. So it's I totally agree with you. That is very important. Read the error message.
The error message, and you can Google a lot of stuff. Google the error message. Actually, that will help the BIM and the VDC teams a lot of times, where they can put their mind in developing the process for the design construction teams, developing the analyzing the data and doing the stuff that they should actually be doing, right? And not troubleshooting why I cannot see that.
We have this joke going around that we are 30% IT and 70% BIM VDC.
So, okay, let's move to the next part of our podcast, which is the impossible questionnaire. And these questions are specially designed to make you feel bad about yourself.
Okay. Am I allowed to just go away? No?
Yeah, no, you will see. I mean, some of the most smart people have not escaped this, right? You won't be escaped. You have to do this. And if you would have listened to some of the podcasts, you might find one or two. So I'm going to ask you 3 questions. These are difficult questions, something you don't deal with every day, but these are related to our AEC industry.
All right.
It's not
it will be interesting.
Yeah, it's not a general knowledge question where who's the
Okay.
finance minister of New Zealand. I'm not going to ask that. Okay.
That's good.
Okay.
Okay.
So 3 questions. Let's see how many you can answer. Okay.
All right.
I don't have a
Let's.
buzzer. I don't have a buzzer here. But let's
All
see.
right.
So your first question is, what is the minimum size of a silt soil particle?
Honestly, I have no idea.
You have no idea?
Point something.
Just give me a number, man.
Okay, 0.00000 micro. Okay, I'm really bad at this. I'm sorry. I would say it will be like a 10,000 times smaller. No, 100,000 times smaller than an ant. Let's compare it.
We are not going to the electrons and the protons level of
Right?
silt. We are like something that you can hold in your hand.
Yeah, but like it's still really small. It's
Okay, let's not beat around the bush. So it is 0.002 mm.
okay.
So you
My
remember that next time.
yes, 0.002 mm. Yes.
It's the smallest size of the silt soil particle.
Okay.
Okay, I think you should know this because you guys are
Okay.
from construction. So
Okay.
let's see. What grade of concrete is not generally used for reinforced concrete? Okay.
Wow.
So this is M20, M10, M20, M30, M15.
M15? Is that right?
No, it's M10.
No. M10? Okay. I was thinking about like it should be the lowest one, but like okay, M10 was also an option. Right.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Okay. Next question. Again, this is a very, very construction kind of thing.
Okay.
And this is a repeat from like a couple of other podcasts. So let's see if you've listened to other podcasts. In a concealed construction, a material or a member that fills or seals an open, like an open hole or something. What is that called? Keywords are concealed construction and a construction material or a member that closes something that's open. What is that called? I'm going to give you like 4 options.
Okay, that's good.
A draft stop, a fire stop, a tailpiece, or an insulation.
Insulation.
Are you sure about that?
It will block the sound along with filling it up, but
It's a draft stop.
okay, I have never heard of a draft stop. So insulation was the most familiar one. I'm like, this stops the sound. So
Okay, no worries. Nobody, this is not an interview question. You don't lose your job for this.
these are funny questions. Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah, that was interesting. But I have never been too much into structure, more like an architect. It's funny though. It's nice.
Okay, so let's get to the next part, which is the last part of this podcast, which I call it rosebud and a thorn. So you as a BIM student, and as a student of lifelong learning, what is the biggest rose, the bud, and the thorn? Rose being the benefits of today, bud being the benefits that you see coming, and thorn being the biggest challenges or the biggest eyesore that, why did I get into this? So a rose, a bud, and a thorn.
All right. Okay. So I'll start with the rose. So I feel as a BIM student and who you're learning every day, you are exposed to so much that no one has to know everything, but just getting exposure to so many things makes us so much stronger and makes our learning capabilities like so much higher as a person that, you get so used to learning all these years that you will never stop learning ever in your lifetime. That's, I feel, is like a rose as a BIM student. Now let's talk about the bud. So the bud, I would say, is as a BIM student, we are still developing. But the biggest opportunities that I see is in like 5 years or so, or let's say 8 years or so. It's so clear to see that the industry is gonna switch to technology because everything else has switched to technology with all the benefits that we are getting right now, this will have an outcome.
Mm-hmm,
That's the opportunity that I see at one point of time. Because as a BIM student, our profession will be so much in demand. Not that it's not right now,
It's
but
not now, but yeah.
yeah, it's gonna keep growing and growing. And yes, like people will need experts in this field. All right.
You're at the start of a revolution.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I feel.
That's nice.
Revolutionary.
Let's talk about the thorn. I'm sure there are
Yeah.
many, but let's talk about thorns.
Yeah, I will again like bring one single point here for the thorn. The thorn is as a BIM student right now, because we are at the starting phase, or let's say at the mid start, not the start, but we are crossing the start. We are getting into the mid start towards the second, third level, whatever we can call it. But it's really difficult to communicate with everyone around us because not everyone is there. We have people in the industry who have like 30 years of experience, 20 years of experience, and that experience is so valuable that if we get to know what they did in their lifetime, we will be able to like literally take that stuff and create something great out of it. But I feel that's the biggest thorn right now because we don't get to do that as much. Very limited. So I feel like it will take some time for the industry to understand that this is valuable, but once we get there, I think it's gonna turn into all the roses. It's there.
Okay. I like that. So you're planning to turn all the thorns into the roses.
I think so. I mean, roses will have thorns, so
Yeah.
let's take it all together.
Okay, I like that. I like the way you're thinking about this. This is one of the most like comfortable podcasts I've had with
Yeah.
you, Suman. I'm so glad we were able to
Awesome.
do it. Anything last you would want to say before we end this?
I would say if I have to tell to like the new people in the industry, I would say be open to learn and explore as much as you can. Like don't say no to opportunities in the start of your career because you don't know where it's going to lead you and take you. Like take the opportunities, see where it goes. You are very young right now and there's a lot of time. We are never out of time. Like, so it's all good. If it doesn't work out, go to the next opportunity that you see. But don't say like no, or don't judge things without knowing how it is going to be, right?
Yes,
So
keep an open
very
mind.
open. Yes.
Yeah, we need to keep an open mind, especially if we are working as a BIM professional. We have to be very, very open because right now what I see is people at like two ends of spectrum and somewhere between people that are just starting with this whole digital transformation, people who are at an apex that this is where they're using like artificial intelligence to do building analysis, right?
Exactly.
And then there are people like us in between. We're trying to navigate stuff. So yeah, keeping an open mind is really great. Keeping your options open is really great. And this podcast was really great. I'm so glad. I'm so happy we did this.
I'm glad. Yeah, this is amazing.
Thank you for your time, Suman. Let's chat sometime together again.
Sure, that sounds great.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks.